Greater Los Angeles is famous for sunshine, beaches, and entertainment, but we're also famous for terrible traffic. In fact, LA County has some of the worst traffic in the world. Just ask anyone here who needs to travel anywhere, ever.
I'm usually irritated because I'm sitting through an hour or 2 hours worth of traffic.
I'm having to leave at 5:30 in the morning to make it to work by 7.
We get up at 2:30 every working day to avoid the early morning traffic.
If there's an accident, you can just kiss that goodbye.
As our population and economy continue to grow, so does our traffic. And so far, nothing has worked to stop traffic congestion. Even a major recession doesn't stop traffic from getting worse in the long run. Continuing business as usual will allow traffic, and its crippling consequences, to keep getting worse. There's no quick or easy solution, but if we want a better future, it's time to think about new ways to solve traffic.
Certain times of day, in a place like Los Angeles, lots of people want to use the same chunk of road space at the same time, and there's just not enough of that road space to go around. And the reason for that is not that we just don't have enough road, it's that the road is not priced correctly. When you have something a lot of people want and you hold its price down, you're going to have a shortage of it. The road is a very valuable piece of land that we hold the price of down at zero. Not having that price incentive attached directly to the decision to drive on a congested facility at the time it's congested is why we have congestion.
Roads are one of the few public benefits that we don't pay to use directly. All other utilities like water, electricity, and gas are metered. The law of supply and demand tells us that pricing is a tool for managing demand to regulate supply. There are examples all around us of pricing at work in our everyday lives. For example, pricing is what keeps our utility grid from being overloaded and causing constant blackouts when there's high demand, like in the summer. But how would pricing work to reduce traffic?
Congestion is a very non-linear phenomenon. It's really the last few vehicles entering a road that cause a lot of the delay. The road system in big, really congested places like Los Angeles or New York is often in a state of what transportation scholars call hypercongestion, which is that the road is so full that everyone is actually moving much slower, and because they're moving so much slower, fewer drivers can use the road.
Traffic is complicated, but let's break this down. Roads are meant to carry a certain number of cars, but as soon as these roads are overloaded, traffic slows dramatically. Therefore, to keep traffic flowing, we need to keep the number of cars on the road just below the overall capacity of the roadway. To do this, we need to reduce traffic just enough to avoid exceeding a road's capacity. From what we see in other cities, an estimated 10 to 15% reduction of cars can dramatically improve speeds. This is where pricing comes in to help people think about the value of their trip.
Another hallmark of an underpriced good, in addition to having a shortage of it, is that you get what we call misallocation, which is to say that when it costs nothing to everybody, everybody has the same incentive to use it regardless of how much they actually value it. And so the classic example of this that we see in the transportation literature is that when we look at what are called travel diaries, which are these big surveys that governments do to figure out who's using the road when and for what reason, we see that even at rush hour in big metropolitan areas, over half of the driving trips are not people on their way to school or work. And a lot of people just feel, for whatever reason, that this is the right time for them to go pick up their dry cleaning or buy a bag of potato chips or whatever, right? And if you just charged a small amount to use the road, you would give the person who had, only the potato chips in mind an incentive to maybe take that trip some other way or to make it at a different time.
Pricing encourages those people who can make a change to travel in different ways to help reduce traffic congestion. In a scenario where the road is priced, you have options for your trip that could look something like this. Travel when and where you want and pay the fee. Or to avoid the fee, you could leave earlier or later, join a carpool, take transit, use an active mode like biking, walking, or rolling, drive less by taking fewer trips or combining trips, which just means skipping the potato chips or just picking them up when you go to the store for your other groceries.
None of us, I would think, would tolerate a world where every day, for huge hours of the day, we had electricity blackouts. Or we'd go and turn on the lights and, turning the switch actually didn't do anything. But we do tolerate a piece of infrastructure that's every bit as large and important, which is our roads, collapsing constantly from overuse. And the only major difference between the roads and all those other network utilities is that the other ones are metered.
So, have we had enough yet? Are we ready for real change? Sure, we love to drive, and driving should work as a form of transportation. We all need to be able to get where we want and need to go without so many bad side effects. Pricing the roads has worked to reduce traffic in other major cities as part of a bigger plan with complementary efforts to provide more transportation choices. But we know that LA is a unique place, and we need a solution for traffic that is tailored to our needs. Could congestion pricing work in LA? Tell us your thoughts.